The Wall Street Journal has just done an incredibly revealing expose on NYU, one of the wealthiest universities in the country with regards to the size of their endowment. And what the Wall Street Journal investigation revealed is just how much of a scam this university is and how they are taking their students to the cleaners. Let's go ahead and throw this tear sheet up on the screen. It says NYU is top ranked in loans that alumni and parents struggle to repay. By many measures, the elite Manhattan school is the worst or among the worst for leaving families and grad students drowning in debt. Quote, it feels like I'm kind of trapped. Here's some of the statistics that they pulled here. And again, keep in mind, they have one of the largest endowments of any university in the country. So NYU parents and graduate students collectively borrowed $3.4 billion in federal plus loans over the past decade. That is more than any other university in the US, public or private. They also found in 40 out of 49 programs, NYU grad students who took out federal loans borrowed more than they earned 2 years out of school. By that measure, NYU had more graduate programs with high debt loads than any other US university with published data. They talked to students who came out with these massive loans, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then trying to go to work in public health where their income and their earning capability, especially right out of school, is nowhere near sufficient to be able to cover that level of loans. They're incredibly stingy. They have lower levels of scholarships for needy students than almost any other
private school.
Any other private institution. And just to give you a sense of what the reality of this has been like for their students, this is the anecdote that they lead the article with. They say, 5 months after Cassandra Jones earned her master's in public health from NYU in May 2019, she still had not landed a job in the field. She was staring down a 6-figure student loan balance and had to pay for rent and food, so she sold her eggs. Again. Ms. Jones first harvested her eggs before starting at NYU in 2017 to help pay for moving to the city. She received a $12,500 annual scholarship and relied on $131,000 in federal loans to cover the rest of her tuition and expenses. She has harvested her eggs 5 times, including to an NYU fertility clinic, in order to earn $50K.
To the clinic? It's even worse.
28 years old now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's working freelance on public health campaigns for nonprofits, making about $1,500 a month, which is not even covering her living expenses in a very expensive part of the city. She says, it feels like I'm trapped. That number of the debt just looms as this tunnel that does not have a light at the end of it. Those are some of the measures that they're forcing their students to take, which are completely avoidable.
Yeah. Also, I just looked it up. How much do you think NYU's president was paid in 2018? $1.8 million.
Not only that, they had a whole program, they mentioned it in this piece too, I don't know if you guys remember this, to help their professors buy vacation homes.
Right. I forgot about this.
And lent them millions of dollars
that's right.
to buy vacation homes. And this lady is having to harvest her eggs in order to
NYU
to pay rent, to NYU to pay rent. And that actually, so they've helpfully offered some suggestions for students to be able to pay and save some money. So here are the solutions that they offer. Finish school faster, sign up for a website to find babysitting gigs, live with a senior citizen, or eat fewer meals. That's some of the helpful advice that they're giving. Just don't eat.
Yeah.
What's with all this need for food stuff? That's crazy.
Live with old people. That one's the worst of all. I'm joking.
I mean, we love our elders, but when you're in college, it's not exactly like the experience you have in mind for yourself when you go to college.
Especially in Manhattan? Come on. Look, I mean, this is dystopian stuff, and these people are criminals. There is no other way, alleged criminals for their freaking lawyers, who I'm sure they pay a lot of money.
The lawyers.
Yeah, I'm sure their lawyers are getting paid just fine, even though the students are their students are suffering. Look, I mean, there is no other way, at least, to describe it as it appears: criminality, dubious exploitation, marketing falsely. Again, these are just allegations that I would say, just as an outside observer. And I think it's horrible that these people continue to be subsidized. And not only that, are part of a broken financial system, which makes it so that all of these students are screwed, and NYU can operate as a de facto real estate company in the city of New York and bilk its students even more to pay off more of its debt, acquire more assets. All of that while they are suffering and the people at the top get extraordinarily rich. I think it's horrible. I really think it is just something so deeply exploitative. And that's why we talk about student debt, forgiveness, and more off the table for me unless we reform this entire system.
Well,
to burn it to the ground.
I mean, on one hand, it exposes why student debt reform is really just. But I do think it also gives credence to that conservative critique of like, just dealing with the debt at this one point in time is not a solution.
Yeah, we can't bail them out. We have to make them reform themselves.
You have to reform the whole system. Their defense, by the way, is hilarious, which is just basically like, oh, well, if you knew all the full stats on other grad programs, you'd find they're equally exploited.
They're actually right. They're right. Yeah, and that's why the whole thing has to be burned. Remember those Columbia University film students, 150 grand in debt?
Yes.
It's horrible.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I mean, listen, I think that Wall Street Journal demonstrates pretty definitively that they're among the worst offenders, but there is no doubt that there are a lot of other schools and a lot of other programs that are equally exploitative. And again, this is one of the wealthiest schools in the country in terms of the size of their endowment. So it's just completely indefensible. They've been more interested in buying new buildings, new space in Manhattan, which is obviously extraordinarily expensive, rather than making sure that their students who are there can actually afford to live and eat and not have to harvest their eggs.
I know. Or, provide them something that's actually useful.
Yeah.
That's just, I can't believe it. But every single one of these stories, I know so many people who've been caught up in this, sold a false dream, took out the equivalent. I mean, how are you supposed to buy a house? You have $300,000 in debt, $150,000 in debt. With interest, I don't even know how. You're going to be paying that off for the rest of your life. Look, if you're a doctor, that's not a terrible gamble. That works out when you're around like 40 years old, or a dentist or something like that. You have pretty high cash flow. But for a lot of these jobs, it's not there. And students, they're taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And they're like 18 years old and they don't even know what they want to do. In what other system would you not say that exploiting an 18-year-old, that they're most vulnerable and taking advantage of their hopes and dreams for massive profit, is not straight up exploitation?
Yeah.
On par to me with like payday loan scumbags.
Some of the saddest testimony they have in this piece is from a student who really regretted her decision to go there because her parents were now saddled with this debt. And she felt like, my God, now my parents are going to have to work till they're 80 because I decided to go to school there. And it's not her, you're 17, 18 years old when you're making these decisions. You have no idea.
Exactly.
You don't understand. You don't know what that's ultimately going to mean. You may not even have a full understanding of what the costs are actually going to be and how much the loans are ultimately going to be. So that to me was also a really sad situation, that she had all this guilt over the choices she had made when it's not her fault. It's NYU's fault.
100%.
Disgraceful situation.
Allegedly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll have more for you later. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.